Good morning and welcome to Beyond the SEAF model. I'm Jack Kosar and this is effective for April 29th, 2024. Let's get started. Our SEAF signals have gone unchanged from last week, which is a nice reprieve from some of the churning we had earlier in this year. To reiterate though, we have energy, financials, and industrials as our SEAF picks for this week. Nice to see energy and industrials kind of rebound from last week. They had a little bit of a weaker trading week, so seeing them rebound was good. Seeing the flows kind of come back was good to see. It kind of confirmed that the momentum for the SEAF model is proving to be correct in terms of making sure that we're in the right sectors. Uh, Financials coming in really strong at one for the trading week, showing a nice slight, I like to point out when we get into that from low to high, so from 3 to 2 to 1, with a 0.31% increase in net flows for the last week, making it a relatively convincing amount of inflows. For our two energy at 0.2%, or yeah, 0.2%. And again, really kind of confirming these flows are showing, and this shows up in our rainbow charts as well. Another interesting thing to kind of note that we're kind of keeping an eye on, watching utilities go from 9 to 4 to 5. That is this 5 is a positive flow. And as you can see, we'll show on the rainbow charts and kind of talk about a little bit more, but a little bit of promise in a little promise in utilities, despite it not being a C signal, and obviously still in the neutral territory. Other key things to note: relatively strong outflow coming out of communication services. My little edge in that could is can't. So seeing that kind of fall off the cliff a little bit, and then kind of showing consistency from technology dropping off. And then healthcare gets an ever so slightly reprieve at 8, which the net flow was really pretty, it was negative, but it was relatively close to zero. Heading into our heat map. This is the kind of heat map that I really like to see. We have that really condensed green up at the top. We have, like I said a little bit earlier, utilities showing a little bit of life here, being dragged down by the strategic quarter at 9. But broadly having our greens together and our reds together really means that this model is really flowing. We're not in a in between period that's kind of got things traversing. So really nice to see this this clumping of the green, as well as the clumping of the red. We know we're in the right spots, and we can really see here that the value and this momentum here is really in this energy, financials, industrials that's coming on pretty strong. Consumer discretionary also having a little bit of green going on, but again, this was relatively close to zero here. So while it is ranked 4, the total flow is more of an intermediate flow, similar to utilities. But broadly, just nice to see our model starting to trend a little bit, and us getting the same signals for a 2 week span. Heading into our rainbow charts, I did industrials looking strong here. We got this nice trend line and relative outperformance since the end of January, and we are sticking up here. Again, as a reminder that this top part is a daily chart. So this is the ranking if you were to take SEAF daily, and we are seeing a nice consistent up in favor for industrials, which is really highlighting this relative outperformance that we were seeing recently, breaking some of our resistance in the relative performance chart with a little bit of spike to go, but heading in the right direction and industrials staying favored. I did mention communication services early, and this is kind of what I wanted to highlight here. As you can see, we've taken a pretty decent header for communication services, and that's really outlining here this almost straight down relative outperformance versus the market. Communication services having a little bit of a struggle here as we head down into the avoid with that big outflow that we saw this week, which was almost 0.25% outflow in communication services. So not a place to be right this minute. Financials also showing some relative strength. We've been dipping a little bit into neutral here, but came back nice and strong with that really 0.31% net increase on the weekly flows to maintain this upper favored. ranking. Nice, broad trend that we're seeing in the relative outperformance, as well as this recent spike in relative outperformance. Going a little bit neutral here, but again, strong flow. We'll look to see what this financials does next week, but broadly, this is trending in the right direction. A bit slow on the broader trend, but nice upward trajectory in the relative performance on the more on the weekly trend. Energy. Energy is really sticking up strong. We kind of dipped into middle favorite here, but right back up toward the top. And you're seeing the relative outperformance is nice, consistently increasing straight up. This really similar move to the third quarter of last year that we're seeing in terms of this nice gradual relative outperformance increase. And as I've mentioned before, the interesting thing to see with energy is there seems to be a lot less movement. When it's in a void, it sticks into a void. When we're up in the favored, we do tend to see a very more consistent move into favored. We're not as jumpy as some of the other. The money seems to be a lot more sticky in energy. So nice to see this. Ranking 2 in the weekly chart and then 1 in both the tactical month and the strategic quarter, keeping this in a highly favored ranking for this week, and obviously a SEAF signal. And hopefully we can continue to ride this out and enjoy this relative performance versus the market. Lastly, I did mention utilities. Utilities is not a SEAF signal. It is currently ever so slightly into the neutral section of the neutral section of the rankings. But the nice thing that we're seeing here is, again, the momentum that we're pulling, going from 9 to 4 and 5, 9 in the strategic, 4 in the tactical, 5 in the trading week. This is also in the price chart, which we don't have, but is taking out the December 14th high of 66.70, which means it's starting to breach through that resistance. So, for managers that are looking to get into utilities or potentially want to take a slight lead off, this is not a SEAF signal, but this is an interesting space for us to be in as it is breaking that high from December. And we are seeing that momentum in the asset flows come into utilities ever so slightly. And as you can see down here, we're picking up a little bit of relative outperformance after going sideways for the last couple of months. So utilities is an interesting space to watch. We're obviously going to keep an eye on it. And, we'll report back next week and see what utilities did over the course of this upcoming week. But a positive place to be a bit, even though it's not a SEAF signal. That is all I have for this week. I look forward to breaking down this SEAF model with you all next week, and I hope you all have a wonderful week. Thank you.